So it's like even to be mentioning Connecticut Senate and New York Governor, like what are you, this is crazy talk, but is it?
I'm doing a piece right now on Connecticut, and in 2010, the incumbent Richard Blumenthal, who had been state attorney general forever, was elected with 55% of the vote at 600,000 votes. Okay, and that was in the first midterm of the Obama election, of the Obama administration.
600,000 votes, and that was 55% of the vote. So
Right.
healthy margin. He did well.
So 6 years later, 2016, obviously the year that President Trump was elected, he gets 1 million votes and gets 63% of the vote. Okay.
He's going in the right direction, especially considering that's a Republican wave election.
That's the first time anyone statewide in Connecticut has won more than 1 million votes. And so you would think, he's a lock for re-election. And the fact is that he's not. He's ahead, depending on which polls you believe, somewhere between 5 and 7 points. He's suddenly all over the air in this media market, and there's a real chance that he might lose. That tells you, I mean, what's important about Connecticut is at the end of the day, probably Blumenthal will win. But if he wins by 2 or 4 or 5 points, that means the Republicans in the rest of the country are going to do very, very well. And that's the New York story as well. Kathy
yes, I want to get
Hochul.
to New York 1 second. But that's so that you're saying basically if he comes within, if his competitor, this woman Levy, comes within 2-3 points of him, this is another Phil Murphy situation where he just barely held on to his seat as the New Jersey governor and really rattled Democrats. That changed, I think, the Phil Murphy near loss really changed COVID policy across the nation. Several months back when he almost lost that seat that he'd been running 30 points ahead in.
Right. I mean, the one way I look at elections is what should be, right? So what should be is that Richard Blumenthal, who's won statewide for 3 decades, he should win by 55% or more. And the likelihood is that he will win. It's not certain that he will, but it's likely that he will win by significantly less than 55%. It might be 52%. It might be 51%. That is what should be. And if it's not, then what it means for the rest of the country is the Republicans will do very, very well.
Why is that here in Connecticut? Why is it, and this is going to be expanded in a second to New York and beyond, but why would this blue state to which I recently moved be turning more red and be potentially turning against a guy like Blumenthal? Is it the same thing as it is everywhere, the economy and inflation? And are they really holding him responsible for that?
I think it's larger than that. I think it's a referendum on President Biden and the Biden administration. I don't think anybody, Joe Biden won by a very narrow margin in the Electoral College. He won by a very healthy margin in the popular vote. But nobody elected him to be left or left liberal president. They voted him because they wanted Donald Trump to go away. And they came out with, this wildly ambitious agenda that they didn't really have the voters' permission to pursue. And that led to, inflation, higher gas prices, food prices through the roof. And that's what's happened. I mean, it's a referendum on, I think, in the bigger picture, I think it's a referendum all across the country on Joe Biden. And that's one that the Republicans will do very, very well in. Biden's approval I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I also think, Connecticut is one of those states where, unlike the Upper West Side of Manhattan, where I moved from, they're not hardcore social liberals on like all this crazy wokeness. They're not. They don't want their sons to just be called students now because we're not allowed to have gender in the classroom. They don't want everything reduced to people's skin color. They don't want the boys shamed, and they don't want all white students shamed. It's not that kind of a constituency. And yet that madness is starting to infect a lot of the schools out here. I am convinced this has a lot of Democrats ready to pull the lever for Team Red.
The other thing that's going on in Connecticut, I mean, I live in Fairfield, Connecticut, which is a fairly wealthy community. Hedge funds, GE used to be here, Fairfield University. So it's certainly well-to-do by any standards, and the county, Fairfield County, is one of the richest counties in the United States of America. All anybody talks about here is crime and car theft. I mean, there's a car theft epidemic in Connecticut. So I think the crime issue is one that Republicans are benefiting from, if you will, all across the country. The other thing to remember about Connecticut, by the way, is in 2010, which was a good year for the Republicans, Tom Foley, the Republican candidate for governor, came within 6,000 votes of winning the governorship that year. So it's a state that, is not, it's not like Massachusetts where, it wants to vote Democratic overwhelmingly unless a Charlie Baker is there. This is a state that could elect a Republican without, without
Massachusetts sometimes elects these sort of fake Republicans as its governor. No Republican who who could win a national race. Although, Mitt Romney used to be more to the right, and then now we see he's, returned to his more middle of the road roots, or
he's back to being a Massachusetts governor.
100%. Right.
He's 100%. Enormously, by the way, he's enormously popular in Utah. He saved the Utah Olympics back in 2000, I guess it was 2001 or 2, and then is unbeatable, I think, in Utah. So.
Yeah. He would never get the national, nomination to run as the Republican presidential candidate. Never in today's day and age.
No,
he's changed a lot. Okay, so let's talk about New York. This is exciting to me. I'm not going to lie. I can't stand Governor Kathy Hochul. I lived under her reign for too long. And, while Andrew Cuomo was a terrible guy, and I was delighted to see him get booted out of office, policy-wise, he was probably slightly more reasonable than this lunatic running around with her vaxxed necklace. She's uninspiring. She's not, we're going to talk about Carrie Lake in a minute and how everybody's gravitating toward her. She's inspiring. I would say Kathy Hochul is the opposite of Carrie Lake in virtually every way. And incredibly, it's getting tight. I mean, are you telling me Lee Zeldin, this Republican who's been through hell this election cycle, almost got it. He got attacked. He had 2 people shot outside of his home while his teenagers were home. Thank God his kids were okay. But I mean, poor Lee Zeldin's really been through the ringer, but is there a chance he's going to win?
Well, there must be, because, again, if you live in the same media market that I do, all you see are attack ads on Zeldin from Hochul's campaign. So, you can tell just by watching the local news and the TV ads that appear there, the political ads that appear there. She's obviously panicked, and taxes, crime, Biden, so yes, he can win. It's going to be, if he wins, it's going to be by a point or half a point. But does he have a realistic shot? Yes, he does.
Do you ever wonder if your vitamins are working? Clinical studies show Healthy Cell's new ingestible gel technology called microgel delivers maximum nutrient absorption, 165% more than tablets. And it tastes great. It's hard to make vitamin liquids or gels taste good naturally, but Healthy Cell products are the best tasting pill-free supplements on the market. Go pill-free and get up to 15 pills worth of nutrients in one ultra absorption gel pack, saving you money and time and giving you effective doses. Take a single great tasting gel pack at home or on the go. It's great for travel, and you can mix it into drinks or blend it into smoothies, what have you. Old-fashioned tablets, capsules, and powders contain synthetic other ingredients like binding glues. Who wants to eat that? Flow agents. That sounds gross. Fillers, coatings, all of which could irritate your gut. Plus, it's made in the USA. Visit healthycell.com/Megyn, Megyn, or use the code Megyn when you check out, and that will get you 20% off your first order. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.